StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the only 4 outcomes that can happen when you are dealing with a prospect. Before we get into this, I remind you all of 2 things. First of all, my daily motivation, Monday motivation messages. Once we get those going again, you'll be getting those straight to your phone. This is a message that I send out every day or week, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to get yourself going. You want to be getting this message, and it is free. Yes, free to join the texting community. Just send me a message to the following number, 305-384-6894. And once we start sending those messages out again, you'll know about it because we'll let you know that they're coming, and then you'll be getting those messages. You can even choose how often you would like to receive them once we are reactivated. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where I do all of my coaching. That's the place where you get access to our programs like Bulletproof Mindset, 30 Days of Discipline, Selling Yourself, Content Machine, and 40 plus more programs. Also, where you have an opportunity to be coached directly by me. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can read more about what we are doing in the program and find out how you can take your next steps to get started. That out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which again, only 4 outcomes that happen when you are dealing with a prospect. And really, I'm writing this from the perspective of only 4 outcomes that happen when we over here are dealing with a prospect. And I have this set up systematically for it to work this way. I'm going to share this with you because I want you to adopt the same thing that I'm going to share here as a mentality, not so much as a you need to do step 1, step 2. I'm not telling you what things to actually do to put that in place. When you're in Work on Your Game University, I can show you and help you and work with you on putting those things in place. But here I'm going to give you more of the mindset of the way that I want you to think about it. Okay. So I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and active salespeople who are sometimes confused about this concept of how much or how often to reach out to people with whom they would like to do business. How much do I follow up? How often do I follow up? I have this person who hinted that they may be interested, or they indicated interest in me or in my products or in my services, and I had an engagement with them. Maybe you exchanged emails, maybe you had a phone conversation, maybe they sent you an email, maybe they filled out a form on your website, but you've been unable to get back in touch with them, or you have followed up with them and they haven't responded, and you don't want to follow up too often, and you don't want to seem pushy, and you don't know what to do. How long am I supposed to wait? Should I wait a week? Should I wait a month? Should I wait a year before I follow up with this person? At what point do I give up and figure that this person maybe is just not going to buy from me? What am I supposed to do in this situation, Dre? This is a question that I have been asked. Sometimes it is asked directly. Sometimes people just share the situation, and I know that there's a question behind it, but they may not quite know what question to ask. I'm going to answer this question here today, and this is a question that you should ask. If you're a person who has talked to people who, again, has indicated in some way that they at least might be interested in what you are selling, or at least they're interested in something that looks like what you're selling. Maybe they aren't quite interested directly in your version of it, but they want that thing and you have it, and you're trying to figure out, how do I follow up, when, or should I, or what do I do? Okay, that's what we're going to answer here today. Now, while I want you to understand, there is an entire process and system to teaching this that can be done based on the business that you're in, who you are, what you're selling, who you're selling to. What I'm going to give you here today is a high-level framework about the mental approach to how this works and what you should do with regards to that. Now, as far as the specific ways that you're going to do this, again, come into Work on Your Game University, because this is it is specific to the type of business that you're in, what you're selling, how you're selling it, who you are, what type of relationship you have with your audience, and how those people are finding you. All of those things need to be considered when we are putting together what we're putting together. So again, this is more high level. This is not the only thing you need to know, but it is a very important thing you need to know, because as I tell you all the time, mindset is the foundation of anything that you're going to do. Today, I'm going to explain to you the mindset that I have, the mindset that I use, the mindset I teach everybody I work with, and then the next steps, the strategies, the systems, and the implementation come into the university for the next steps. Point number 1. Topic once again here today, only 4 possible outcomes when you are meeting or engaging with in any way a prospect. Again, this can be digital, virtual, or in person. Number 1 is that they buy. Best thing that can happen. This is the best possible outcome. Best possible outcome you can have with a prospect is that someone indicates that they may be interested in what you are offering, and then you show them what you're offering or tell them what you're offering, and they buy it. They say, okay, this is what I want. They pull out their credit card or their wallet or I guess their phone and they make a purchase. All right, this is the ideal outcome that all of us as salespeople, we want. You make an offer to someone about your thing, regardless of how often you've had to talk about it. Again, at some point, this doesn't have to be immediate. This could be they hear about your thing today and then this date next year they buy your thing. Maybe it takes a year for them to make a decision or to get the money or to really have the need, whatever the situation is, or maybe they forgot about you and then they remembered you again and then they go buy. Whatever the thing is, again, these are only 4 possible outcomes. I'm not saying immediate responses. I'm saying outcomes, or however long this takes, is that they buy. Okay. So regardless of how long you talk to them or how long you engage or how much time has passed between the first point of contact and the last one, or at least the one that leads to the sale, but hopefully that's not the last one because you want to sell them something else again if your first thing was good. They eventually say yes and they buy. Okay. They get something, which is your product or service, and you get something, which is usually money. This is the outcome that you want. This is the outcome every salesperson wants. This is the main reason why any of us goes into sales and we go into business for ourselves in the first place, because when we're able to consummate a transaction. They get something, you get something. Hopefully that transaction is beneficial for you. I mean, you made money that makes it make sense what you did in order to make the sale, what you have to do after the sale. They're happy with the product or service that they get, and they are willing and able and wanting to make another transaction with you because they want to get more of what they just got, or at least another form of what they just got, or they like so much what they just got, they're willing to try the other things that you have to offer. And this is the entire game of sales and business. I mean, or this is the end game rather of sales and business that we want to get into, which is consummating a transaction. And it's actually kind of not 100% true to call it the end game, because we don't want the game to end here. We actually want the game to begin here, because moving forward, we want to do more transactions. We want more stuff to happen. Okay, so they get something, you get something. This is the reason that we're in sales. So everybody understands the concept of you offering something for sale and people buying it, right? Now, how to actually make that happen is a whole deep dive conversation. There are entire books written about that, entire programs made around it. I have them at Work on Your Game University, but we all understand that this is what we want. We want to make a sale. All right, everybody got that? Good. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the only 4 possible outcomes when you are in sales and you are making an offer to a prospect that is a person who has indicated, again, in some way, lightly or strongly, that they could be possibly interested in what you're selling. Number 2, another outcome that can happen is that they give you a clear no. N-O. Easiest and the hardest word to say is no. Only has 2 letters, only takes a second to say it. Now, a clear no does not necessarily have to be the word no. They could just say, I'm not interested at this time. They could say, we're going to move in another direction. They can say, remove me from your email list. Don't email me anymore. They can say, I don't want to get your text messages anymore. They can say, no, I'm not going to buy here today. They can say, no, I don't have the money, or no, I would never purchase that. Whatever it is that they say that is giving you a clear communication that they are not purchasing from you. All right, that's what a clear no is. Okay. And by the way, if someone says not right now, that's not actually a clear no. That's just it's a clear not right now, which means later it could be a yes. So this point, of course, is not the ideal outcome when someone tells you no, but let me tell you what it is. It is better than a person telling you nothing at all if their intention is not to buy. In other words, if someone is in your world, or they're on your email list, or they're on your follow-up list, or whatever it is, there's someone that you are following up with, or knowing that you need to follow up with, believing that you should follow up with, and they already have decided that they're not going to purchase from you, but they have not made it clear that they're not going to purchase from you. And when I say not going to, what I mean is they would never, ever purchase from you. I'm not saying not right now, because there are people who are in my email inbox right now. I mean, not people, but, well, some of them are people, but they're representing businesses and they're selling stuff and they're telling me about their stuff all the time. And every email they send, they are mentioning their stuff and marketing and promoting and looking to influence or persuade me into looking into deeper or buying their stuff. I am not going to buy their stuff today and probably not tomorrow. But the reason why I allow them to keep sending me emails is because at some point in the future, maybe 6 weeks from now, maybe 6 hours from now, maybe 6 months from now, I might buy their stuff. That's the reason why I let them keep sending me emails, because I want to see what they're doing. And they may eventually say something that makes me want to go and buy it. Or I may come into a circumstance in which now I'm ready to buy from their stuff. Or maybe I'm just watching what they're doing and noticing how they sell, and I might be borrowing things that they do and using it for my own sales processes. The whole point is, just because someone doesn't buy from you today does not mean they're never going to buy from you ever. So what I'm saying is, when you have someone in your database that knows, K-N-O-W, they know that they will never buy from you, but they don't tell you that they will never buy from you. All right, this person may be taking up your resources. Now, sending them an email is not really taking up resources, I don't think. The cost of sending one email is so low I would just keep sending them to a person who, if they didn't unsubscribe, just let them keep getting emails. Maybe you'll change their mind at some point. Maybe their life situation will change at some point. All of those things can happen. I've had people drop themselves off of my email list, unsubscribe from my text messages, unfollow me on social media, stop consuming my stuff for whatever reason, and then I've seen them come back. 6 months, 3 months, 2 years later, I've seen them leave and I've seen them come back. I've seen them just stop responding to the things that I'm saying, then they quietly come back into my world. It happens. So if someone decides that it's never, ever, ever, and as we all know, you should never say never because things can change in life and it can change the entire situation. If their intention is to never buy, but they don't tell you no and you're following up, and I mean with actual resources, like you're making phone calls or you're knocking on their door or you're sending them packages and they're still just giving you nothing and their intention is to never give you anything in terms of attention, then that one is a sunk cost. You're better off getting a no from this person so that you know, KNOW, let me not give any more resources to this entity, rather than them saying nothing and you keep giving resources to it, but you're not getting any answers, which means you're continuing to, again, reach out, but you're not getting any feedback. So you don't know whether this is going, where this is going or not. Now, let me be clear. If this is a personal interaction, let's say you go to the mall and you meet some girl or guy who you're interested in, and you exchange numbers and maybe you go on a date or two, and then they stop responding to you, what people these days call ghosting you. They just ghost you and just stop responding and don't give you anything. I do not suggest that you keep following up and sending text messages to this person, because then you kind of look like a psycho, or you might get reported to the authorities for stalking and harassment. I'm talking about in a business sense. So if you come into my world and you go to one of our book funnels, or come into our university, or you are interested in our university program, have a conversation with us about joining, and you give us a maybe or a not right now, or let me think about it, and then you never give us a follow-up message, we're going to keep following up with you. Now, you can't call that stalking and harassment because that's a business interaction. Now, if I was a single man, I would meet some woman out there and we exchange information, have a conversation, then she just ghosts me and stop responding, and I just keep sending her messages every 3 days like I would send an email, then that kind of goes crazy. Okay, so I'm talking in a business sense here. Okay, so I want to make sure everybody understands. I'm not talking, don't do this personally. If a person does not want to buy from you, it is better that they give you a clear answer and tell you they don't want to buy, rather than saying nothing and then you got to keep, again, using your resources to find out where they stand. They're not telling you. So I appreciate and am happy when I get a clear no from a prospect who I'm reaching out to, because it means we no longer need to invest our resources into reaching out to this person or attempting to further engage. To give you an example of this is when we reach out to people, as far as what I do as a consultant. So as a consultant, I do a good amount of outreach. And when I say consulting, I mean any form of selling intellectual property. So I could be speaking, training, doing workshops, anything like that. We reach out to organizations that we know have events, that we know bring in people like me. And we'll reach out, and every day, depending on how much outreach we're doing, we do a heavy amount of outreach. I mean, we send out a lot of emails. And when I say a lot, I'm saying like at least 100 emails per day we are sending out for outbound. We're doing outbound outreach for consulting business, at least 100 emails every day. And when you send out 100 emails a day, it is inevitable that you're going to get a response from someone that says, we are not interested. They may say it in so many words, we're not interested. Someone may say, we got one the other day that said, well, Dre, we do hire, they didn't say it to me, it said it to my assistant, but I saw the email. We do hire speakers, but we only hire speakers who are from within our industry. Or they'll say, we do hire speakers, but we don't pay our speakers. We only bring in people who are kind of in our world and they volunteer to speak. All of these are forms of no to us, because I'm not looking to speak to someone and not get paid for it. This is a business for us, which means there's money exchange. So these are forms of no. And we appreciate when those people tell us no, because you know what it means? We can take that entire company and that organization, because now that we know the way that they do their thing, we know that this is not going to be a fit for us, probably for the foreseeable future. So now we don't need to give any more resources to that company, or even if the person who said no to us, they get replaced by another person next year, we don't have to follow up with the new person, because the structure is still the structure. You understand? So we want to know when the answer is no. We want to know, KNOW, when the answer is no, NO. All right, and depending on what they tell you and the information, the context around it, again, it could mean stop reaching out to this person, or it could mean, hey, maybe just not now. We've had people tell us that we reached out to an event, it was maybe a month or so ago. They said we book our speakers like 2 years in advance. So we had reached out to them in early 2024, and they said we booked all of our speakers for, because they only maybe have one event per year in which they would hire somebody like me. So they said we got all our speakers for 2025 and 2026 already, and we don't start planning for 2027 until like the middle of 2025. So we don't need to reach out to them for a year and a half. And that's not a no. Right, that's a later. So now all we do is make a notation and we put it on the calendar, and we know we need to follow up with them in a year and a half. So be careful of marking something as a no NO when it's not actually a no NO. NO needs to be very clear and unequivocal. And you need to draw parameters around what a no is for you. And I just gave you some examples. If I'm looking to get paid to speak and someone says we do hire speakers, but we don't pay them, then that's a no for me. But you may be in a circumstance where you're okay with doing a couple for free, which is how I got into the business. I did several for free and built up my resume and got some proof, some social proof of my ability, which led to me being able to charge for it. So don't take the same things that I'm using as parameters to use yourself. You need to decide on your own. Moving on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the only 4 outcomes when you are dealing with a prospect or a lead. Number three outcome is we die. That means everybody over here on this side at Work on Your Game Incorporated, specifically me, because I'm the principal who's going to be delivering the deliverable, at least as of today. And I'm saying we die, meaning I'm no longer around to actually deliver on the thing that we're selling. We'll probably stop selling it at that point. This means that we are no longer around to continue to follow up, to call, to send text messages, to send emails, or to pursue any other form of communication. We are just not available to do so. So therefore it ends. If we are not around to send communication, then it's possible for us to follow up. Follow up is a form of communication. And the very concept of this point, what I mean by this point, and I mean it in obviously I'm being hyperbolic, is that we will continue to follow up with people for as long as we are capable of doing so, never giving up on a prospect unless they have given us a clear reason to believe that they are not and will never become a buyer of what we're selling. That's what I'm communicating with this point. Let me say that sentence one more time. As long as we are around to do so, to do the follow-up, and we are around to deliver on what we're selling, then we will continue to follow up and never give up on a prospect unless they have given us a clear reason to believe that they are not and will never be a buyer of what we are selling. And that point is very important. This is why I said it twice. We continue to follow up. When do you stop following up? Somebody may be asking. The answer is never, until you die. I'm giving you the times when you stop following up. Is when they give you a clear no. That was the first time you stop following up. And the second one is if you die, then you don't have to worry about remembering this point because you're dead. So I don't think you remember things when you're dead, at least from what I've heard. And if you got experience, you can let me know. So you just keep following up. There is no stop. It doesn't end. You follow up forever. You'll follow up forever. Okay? Let's move on. I don't have to say much more on point number 3. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, what do you do? Or what are the ways that the outcomes that you want to get from the prospects that you're dealing with, and what is the mindset around it? Number 4 option is that they die. In other words, if you are a person who I'm trying to sell something to you and I find out that you're dead, I will remove your name from my email list. I will stop following up with you out of our CRM. We will take you off of our follow-up sheet list and stop sending you packages and mail and text messages because you're dead, which means you're probably not going to get the messages anymore. Therefore, it is impossible for you to buy also because you're no longer around. You're deceased. See, the other side to the point number 3 is point number 4. Either I die or you die. Okay, so either one of us dies, then that engagement is over. Okay, the prospect is no longer around to make a decision because they're dead, and it is impossible for them to purchase from us. So you can't buy anything from me if you're dead. Right? You can't pull out your credit card if your heart's not beating. Now, if I die and there are other people around, let's say I teach other people how to share my framework, which is something that we will be doing in Work on Your Game Incorporated, so that I'm not the only principal, because that way I can remove myself from every day-to-day operation in the business, or at least that part of it, day-to-day delivery rather, in the business. Now, if I personally die, then the company can still go. That's why the point is we die, not I die, but we die, because I have intellectual property that other people can deliver. It doesn't have to straight come from me. Now, there are some adjustments that would be made, of course, but hopefully you understand my point here on a high level. Now, they die, whoever you're selling to, this depends on who you're selling to. If you're selling to an individual person, if they personally die, then it's over. Now, if you're selling to a company, if a person who works at the company dies, well, it's not over because somebody is going to replace them. Okay, so you got to be careful here. When we say they die, again, I want you to understand this on a high level. I want you to understand the semantics of it. The other side to this previous point, if they're not around and no one's around, let's say the company goes out of business, okay, that's a form of death. Now, what you can do, though, is stay in touch with the people who work there, because the company goes out of business, those people still need jobs. They will go work in other places, and they might have similar jobs in other companies. So now maybe you can reach out to them at that company. But this requires that you be in consistent touch with that person, because if they leave that company and their email address goes as the company folds, well, how do you reach that person? If you don't have a way, because there's no relationship, then you lose it. You lose the contact. So this is all part of the game. This is all part of your business hustle to being on top of your stuff. So if that person's dead, it's okay for you to stop trying to sell to them. Okay, that is okay. Stop selling to somebody if they're dead. But it doesn't mean you can't try to sell to their kids if their kids are prospects, their parents if their parents are potential buyers, or whoever takes their place at the company that they were working at. Again, if somebody dies who works at a company, that's a sad thing, and I'm sure they'll have a nice ceremony for the deceased and their family. But somebody's got to do that job. That job still needs to be done. The world doesn't stop if one person stops. That's just how it is. All right, and that includes me and you. So I do mean this in a tongue-in-cheek way, but it doesn't mean I'm not serious. The concept of this, everyone, similar to the previous point, is that we continue to follow up with the person for as long as they are available to be followed up with. All right, you got a phone, we're going to keep messaging. You got an email inbox, we're going to keep sending you emails until you tell us to stop sending them. All right, at that point, we'll stop. Only thing that will make someone unavailable is that they leave their position or they leave the earth. Otherwise, we continue. Any of you are familiar with the movie The Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio playing Jordan Belfort, which is based on a true story? You remember that one, the famous scene in that movie where Jordan Belfort, aka The Wolf of Wall Street, was telling he was saying, get on the phone and start dialing. This is something that I mentioned a few episodes back when I talked about, literally did an episode titled Get on the Phone and Start Dialing. And what he was saying to them is that if any problem that you have, any problem that you have can be solved by making yourself more money, making yourself rich, and you have the opportunity and the potential to make money and get rich working here at this company for us, because we have a system that will allow you to get rich as long as you're willing to pick up the phone, follow the system we created for you, and just dial the damn phone. And you can go look up the scene again. Look up it's called Wolf of Wall Street. And the scene is called Get on the Phone and Start Dialing. Look it up. It's a great scene. And one of the things that Leo/Jordan Belfort says during his little speech that he's saying to his sales team is that we will keep calling that buyer and we will stay with him. We will stay in the conversation. We will stay on the phone until he buys or he fucking dies. And when he said that, he said it with a lot of emphasis, and the crowd goes crazy. The crowd being his salespeople, they all go crazy. And that's the essence of what I'm giving you here today. So let me recap these 4 points. The only 4 outcomes that happens when you have a prospect. Number 1, they buy. This is ideal outcome. Everyone understands is the point of sales. Number 2, to give you a clear no. This is a person who's telling you unequivocally that there is no way ever that they will buy from you, but you can still hold out hope, because people should never say never. Number 3, we die. That means we are no longer around to make sales. Your company folds and you can't call and sell your product because your product doesn't exist anymore. It's over. And number 4, they die. All right, they're no longer around to make a purchase, so therefore you don't have to keep offering to them. In other words, as Jordan Belfort told his sales team in The Wolf of Wall Street, you stay with the prospect and you keep following up and you stay in the conversation, the ongoing conversation, until they buy or they die. No other options. All that said, folks, text me so you're in my community. My number's down below in the description. And work on your game university. If you would like to learn how to sell at this level, if you want to develop your sales mindset, you want to develop whatever you're going to sell, your products and your services, learn who to reach out to, how to reach out to them, how to have a sales conversation, and start bringing in the money in your business that you want to make, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can work with me directly on how to make that happen. Work on your game. Dre, all